The IUD insertion, I will not lie to you, can be very crampy. However, these 5 tried and true methods, you should have way less discomfort with the IUD insertion. Let's find out what they are. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Means. I'm a board certified OBGYN practicing in Plano, Texas. I'm the OBGYN coming to your living room, answering all your burning questions about women's healthcare things. So thing number 1 that we can do for decreasing insertion pain is taking Mesoprostal or Cytotec prior to insertion. This I combine often with lidocaine, which I do as a small injection into the cervix, not to get graphic, but that will help sometimes our body relax a little bit. So what is the purpose of the Cytotec? Cytotec's just easier to say to Mesoprostal, but same thing. So Cytotec can soften and open up the cervix canal, and on my little model here, where is she? Where did she go? Okay, don't worry, we found it. So on my little model here, if you can see it, we want the cervix, the opening, to be a little bit softer and easier to get through. That can be really important if you had a C-section before, you've never had a baby before. Sometimes that can be quite narrow. That softening can make a huge difference in how the insertion goes. Me personally, I just have my patients take it about 4 to 6 hours prior to their insertion, so they're not with it all day. And I also do the vaginal method for Cytotec, which I think really cuts down on some of the weird GI cramps and things like that. Go ahead and hit that like button if one of the things stopping you from getting an IUD has been your fear of pain with the insertion. Okay, thing number 2 that we should do is take Ibuprofen, 800 milligrams, about 1 to 2 hours before our insertion. Ibuprofen is really good at preventing cramps, and so when we have that on board, our uterus will be more relaxed and not cramp and tense up so much during the insertion, which can make it really painful. Obviously, you want to get approval from your doctor for this. Not everyone can take ibuprofen for different meds, yada yada, but it's an important thing to consider and ask for at your next visit. Okay, tip number 3 is going to be schedule your IUD at the end of your menstrual cycle. So why does that matter? You're like, well, I'm already cramping, but when we're on our period, our cervix is already slightly open. There's already blood coming through it. So for those reasons, in theory, it should be less painful to insert at that time. I also like it because the IUD, especially in those first 1 to 3 months, can have some irregular bleeding patterns, and that may come down a little bit doing it at the end of your menstrual cycle. You also don't want to be going into a menstrual cycle right after IUD inserted because, we want our uterus to be calm, just like let the IUD get in position before we start having cramps or things like that. Because if we do the insertion right before a cycle, we have a bunch of cramps, that can cause the IUD to displace slightly or be lower and may need to be redone, which we do not want to have to do. Tip number 4, I recommend all my patients clear out your schedule after your IUD insertion. You do not want to have to go to a meeting or go run track or something crazy. I want you to go home. I want you to put your favorite thing on Netflix, have your heating pack, have your ibuprofen ready, your Tylenol ready. We're going to do nothing, okay? We want our uterus and our bodies to relax. You deserve that. I often tell people you may want to have a backup driver. And tip number 5 is hydrate. I say this all the time, pregnant or not, the uterus is a muscle and we treat it just like any muscle. When we put an IUD in the uterus does not like anything being done to it. It cramps. So how do we relieve cramps other than ibuprofen? Hydration. That's really going to help our uterus relax. So I'm huge into hydration, both pre and post procedure. I think that's really important. Do your uterus a little favor and follow these tips so you can have a painless IUD experience.